So let's talk a little bit about the Kiss connection because to me it's just I mean you
I,
know
I
we
want
all
I want him to do a story. I'm sorry to mow over your rose bush there, Dave,
nah,
but I want to hear the story. I believe Philip Schaus told the story already, but I want to hear Jeremy's version of you're in Nashville, you've got a thing going on. How do you hear? Is it related to what it is you're doing, the residency gig, that you hear Gene needs a band?
Uh,
Start with
that's
somewhere in there and finish it out.
okay. So I had mentioned that I
How
was in a
did you
cover
get the
band.
Gene gig? The Gene gig. How did that come
Okay.
about? Right. Yeah.
Okay. So I had mentioned that I was in a 80s metal cover band with Ryan called Big Rock Show. Uh, Ryan is good friends with Doc McGee. So when
Oh,
Kiss were doing their first cruise, Doc asked Ryan to bring his cover band on Big Rock Show.
sweet.
And I was not in the band at the time. So the person that they were using couldn't do the cruise. So, they asked around and, actually they asked Philip first, but Philip had a country gig at the time and he couldn't do it. But I had been living with him. He's just like, well, the guy you want lives with me. He's here. So I wound up joining that band and doing the first cruise with Ryan. And then we got invited to the
Wow.
next one and the next one and the next one and the next one. And, the stage is in the center of the ship and, the artist cabins are right behind that. So they heard us a lot.
Hmm.
So Ryan had a pretty good reputation with the Kiss camp. And then when time came, when Gene was going to do some solo shows, and it wasn't many, it was just he was doing these things called Wizard World. It's a lot like Comic Con. It's just like autograph things.
Wow.
They asked him to tie a show in with that, and there was like 6 maybe. So through the company that puts on the cruises, Six Man, Gene called them and got Ryan's number. And then Kiss Cruise 6, Ryan was on that cruise, but our band wasn't. And Gene sent him a message and said, hey, I'd like to have lunch with you on the cruise. And so that was when Gene approached him about putting together a band. And, I'm pretty much a shoe-in for that band. I mean, because we're all pretty much friends because of Kiss. Me and Phil are friends because of Kiss.
Wow.
That's like kind of our direct link to each other.
Yep.
So at the time, Gene was just going to sing and we were going to pass the bass around, but luckily good sense prevailed and Gene played bass, but there was no reason for us to get rid of one guy. So it just wound up being 3 guitar players.
yeah.
And then we did one show, set the internet on fire. And then by the next year, we had been to Japan and Europe and all kinds
Yeah.
of Mexico, South America.
Who's the first person?
Australia, right? Australia.
Yeah, Australia.
Yeah, I saw some of that footage. It's been years and years ago now, I think. Well, within the past 7 years, I've seen some footage of you guys. How long? What year was that?
The
That it
first show
came to
was
fruition?
March 2017.
Okay, so my timeline is correct. And I saw
Yeah.
some footage from Australia, and I was like, these guys have it in their DNA.
Yes, we know every nuance. I mean, nuance is kind of what made us really great at it. I mean, there's not a more perfect gig for me than playing with Gene. I mean, even more so than Ace, because in Gene's band, I get to play the solos.
Right.
Right.
And that's where those were the shoes you were wearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we were the perfect guys for that job. And Australia in particular was like the Kiss band's dream because we're like backing up Ace and then take a 30-minute break, change our clothes, and then back up Gene. I mean, and then Ace would come out at the end of our set and do Deuce with us.
Wow.
Damn.
Wow. Man,
The
that's
shows are really cool, but honestly, the best part of that tour was hanging out in airport lounges with those guys and just being a fly on the wall and listening to them talk
yeah.
about
Tell us about
old
that.
times.
I was going to ask you, what's the best Kiss story you heard from those guys, or the best story in general?
Just hanging out in Australian airport lounges and listening to those guys talk about old times.
Yeah. Anything
Wow.
specific that you remember about,
No,
them reliving
I,
their past? I
I
mean, that
don't
would,
remember anything specific.
yeah.
I just remember that's where I learned that Ace was a little bit deaf because when Gene would talk to him, he would talk about this loud right here. He's deaf.
Mm-hmm.
What,
I even remember Gene was telling me a story once when we were walking behind Ace, and it was like something kind of funny and derogatory, and I was just like, man, he's gonna hear you. He's like, he can't hear me. Ace didn't even turn around.
Wow. It seems to me, and this I'm relating this to, I live in a little bit of a rural town, so there's always two old codgers out front with, Air Force and Navy hats on and, clean cut codgers out front of the post office having a conversation. That's what this would probably be, the same type of a thing. They're just probably talking about, rock and roll and not
Yeah,
the war, right?
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because at the time Ace was like 68, so Gene would have been about 70. Yeah, 70, 71.
Okay.
So
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
old dudes.
Yeah. but have been to the top of the mount, built the mountain.
Yeah, built the mountain.
They
Yeah.
built the mountain.
What is
Oh, yeah.
what is the probability of you ever writing with Gene and Ace? Because I know that you primarily back them up as a live guitarist, and you go out on tour and you play live. But any opportunity to
Gene,
write?
I'm not really sure about Gene because I don't think he has any interest at all in making new music. On Ace's last record, he had asked me for stuff. He just, I don't know, he kind of started working with Steve, and that whole thing had a direction. So I sort of just stepped back.
Yeah.
Steve and I had, I don't know, different writing styles, and I don't know if anything I would have given to that would have fit in with what wound up being 10,000 volts.
Yeah.
When you say Steve, just for our listeners.
Steve Brown, Ace's co-writer and producer. Steve Brown from Trickster.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you're out, tell us something we don't know about Gene or Ace. I mean, they've been so widely reported and covered. We know almost everything, but you're in close quarters with these guys, and maybe not something we don't know, but something that surprised you.
Well, everybody thinks that Gene's egotistical. I mean, and he is a little bit, but and greedy. I don't know if Gene's greedy. Gene loves money and he loves to make money, but he's also very generous and very, he's a bit of a philanthropist. And man, he can take it as good as he gives it.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I had to send a crack back to him, I was scared to death, but then he laughed and it was okay. So like, he doesn't mind a little bit of ball busting.
Yeah.
And he's a great hang. We would have dinner before the shows. We would hang out after the shows. We would all go to our rooms after the show and like look up YouTube clips so we can watch that night show and then run an email talking about it. And yeah, man, he's a fun hang.
Yeah.
Loves jokes, practical joker. Don't ever leave an open drink around him because he will dump a salt shaker in there.
Did that happen to you? That sounds like you know this firsthand.
A couple times.
If you were, let's start with Gene and then we'll move to Ace. But if you were out playing with one of those guys and you could choose a deep cut, which would it be for each of those guys?
Wow, what a good question. With Gene, I wound up getting to do most of those deep cuts. The only song we could not get him to do was Love 'Em and Leave 'Em. And I'll have a lyric sheet story for you that I've already told Jason, but I carried the lyrics around to Love 'Em and Leave 'Em the entire time we toured in the event that we got him to do it. And He wouldn't budge, and he wouldn't budge on Larger Than Life either. I really wanted to do that song. He thought it was a little too slow.
That's false hope, man. What a bummer.